Hey everybody, my name is Suzanne Adams and I am really, really excited about the conversation that I'm about to have. This is Lewis Howes and this is his new book. It is The Mask of Masculinity, How Men Can Embrace Vulnerability, Create Strong Relationships, and Live Their Fullest Lives. And Lewis Howes, you want to say hi?
No, I was just cheering you on. I was excited. I'm excited for this.
Lewis is my mentor, my teacher, my friend. He has such an amazing, open, and big heart. He is a New York Times bestselling author. He's a lifestyle entrepreneur. It has just been such a privilege learning from him and getting to know him. And I'm really excited to introduce you guys to him through the conversation that we're going to have today. So, Lewis, welcome.
Thank you. I'm pumped.
Yeah. So I've skimmed your book. I haven't had a chance to read the whole thing. I'm
It's all good.
diving in right away. I know how it is, though, when you want everyone to read your book. So
It's all good.
yeah, next on my list. But I wanted to ask you, and just looking at it, and reading the parts that I have read, what was your favorite aha? What was your favorite interview? What's your favorite moment that's in the book?
You know what? Since we talked about something off interview that I actually think is going to be more powerful for you.
Okay.
My favorite part of this is that it teaches women how to fully understand the men in their lives, or understand any man. It gets inside the mind and the hearts of their women's fathers, brothers, boyfriends, husbands, or potential partners. So for you, Suzanne, I think it's going to be really fascinating for you to understand how to attract the exact man of your dreams and understand fully what drives him, what motivates him, what his fears are, what his insecurities are, and to continue to have a thriving relationship. So that's what I think is powerful for women, is to understand why men are the way they are, why men have certain masks on, why men defend themselves, why men are not emotionally available at certain times, why men are always looking at other women and driven by conquering women, why men are always obsessed with talking about money. All these things that certain men have tendencies of doing, getting underneath and understanding the why. And I think that's going to be really powerful for a lot of women. So that's what has fascinated me the most, is that as I was researching about this, I was writing it for me to help heal my heart. And then I realized, wow, this is actually be more powerful for women who are in so much conflict with men right now
Right.
in their relationships, to understand them so they won't have to be in conflict anymore.
That's so powerful. And I love it because it's not only powerful for a woman that's single and dating like myself, but also for women that are in relationships that maybe have the struggles. And that kind of brings me to another question that I wanted to ask you. Is a lot of my clients and a lot of the women in my community, they are on mission. They are ready to grow. They are just really fired up. And a constant conversation or question that they ask me is, what do I do when I'm on fire, I'm ready to grow, and my husband is either not on board, he wants the woman that he married, not the woman that the person is becoming, or that maybe they feel a little bit threatened by their growth. So how would you respond to that?
This is tricky because it kind of depends on where you came in and what was talked about before the relationship and going into it.
Right.
You never want to make the man wrong for who he's being or what he's doing.
Okay.
I think that's the quickest way to have him put the mask on even stronger. So the best way for a man to grow, in my experience, in my opinion,
Yep.
the research we've done, is through acknowledging the good that they are doing. So finding those things that the men in your life, whether it's your husband, your partner, whatever, are doing good. Not fixating on, I wish you would do this more. I wish you would go out and come to this seminar with me. I wish you would read this book with me. I wish you would talk about these things with me. Focus on the good that the man feels like he is doing for the relationship, the family, for your life, everything. So continue to acknowledge, even though it's the hardest time to acknowledge when you're frustrated about something else.
Right.
Find a moment that day to say, you know what, I really acknowledge you for how hard you work at work. Like, it means the world to me that you give so much and you care about our relationship and our family this much, that you're so committed. And I know it's frustrating sometimes, and I know maybe the work you don't love, but I want to make sure that I share with you that I acknowledge you for this. And I would love to continue to grow and see how ways we can support each other in this. So finding those things that you acknowledge, whether it's like they make coffee for you in the morning, it's like, wow, I just really appreciate and acknowledge you for making that coffee for me.
Or even just letting them go to the spiritual retreats and events and all of that, the support that it takes to get them to
Yeah, just saying thank you for
that's
allowing
so
me to
true.
go. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you so much for your support and letting me do my thing. And one day I'd love for you to experience it with me, even maybe like an hour long like mini thing. I'd love for you to just come and check it out, and so I can show you off to my friends, whatever it is. Like,
Ooh, that's good. That's a good one.
like
I want to show you all.
feeding them some sugar coated like peas. You know what I mean? So, um, yeah, and starting small. I think it's hard to get people to change and overnight. Just because you're excited about something doesn't mean they're going to be excited about it. So continue to acknowledge him for the good. A man wants to feel good about the hard work he does and the things he does right. He doesn't want to be made wrong for the things he's not doing. When he says to himself, look at all this other good stuff I'm doing for you or for us that you're
Right.
not acknowledging. So you just want to focus on the 2 or 3 things that you don't like about me or that I'm not doing enough of. Maybe I'm not cleaning up or I'm not doing this. But look at everything. I spend 10 hours a day for you and us to do these things. So whatever it is, and I'm not sure what,
No, I love this because these are the same principles of like manifesting and creating the reality you
absolutely.
desires. Focus on the good, focus on what's already working, and
Yeah. I talk about gratitude all the time because it's perspective.
right,
You could be like you could live in a mansion and have all the money and have like tons of people working with you and supporting you, but you could still be miserable about something.
right.
Or you could have nothing and be like the happiest person in the world and just be perspective. Like, I'm so grateful that I have this and this little bit here, and I have like the connections with my family. So, focusing on gratitude for me of the things that you're grateful for in your partner, and you'll attract more things to be grateful for.
I love that. Who knew that Lewis Howes is also a relationship coach?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
It's always easy to coach others than to coach yourself a relationship.
Right. Okay, so that actually is a perfect lead into the question I wanted to ask you. So, you have heard you say multiple times that writing this book, talking about vulnerability, talking about removing the mask, has really helped you in your own relationships. So, I
Yes.
want to know how this has helped you the most in your relationship with your gorgeous girlfriend, Jen.
It's helped me be a lot more calm and not defensive when I'm not like getting everything I want. I think it's challenging because, you know, the more credibility or results I get in my life, the more options that come to me.
Right.
And so when things aren't going like perfect in my relationship, or it's not going the way I wanted to in every specific area, it can be easy for me to be like, oh, look at, why I'm not getting what I want. And it's not perfect. And what about these other options? It's like I start to think. And that's something I did before. We had broken up because I was just like, I'm not getting everything I want and it's not working. So I'm going to, end it. It's not working. As opposed to looking for like the depth and having the hard conversations and talking about the things that I was scared of, things that intimidated me, the things that was like I wasn't maybe comfortable talking about because maybe it would hurt her or she wouldn't understand me. So it's more just like, okay, I'm going to run away. And we've been back together for a couple of years now, and it's it was a process of healing and letting go, and we've both been growing. But it's allowed me to even and she wants me not to talk about our personal relationship when I'm doing interviews, so I want to respect her by not really going into detail and stuff.
Yeah,
but
of course.
but just to create context, when maybe I feel like we've gone through an argument or something where it's not working or we're not vibing on something, I used to get really defensive and kind of just be like, all right, I need my alone time, like get away from me type of thing, that
Right.
type of energy. And now, even just last night, there was a moment where in the past, I would have probably been like gotten up from our conversation and like walked into the other room and just been like, okay, I'm going to go into like a shell and just like breathe into my time. And this time, she said something, she wasn't even intentional, but it triggered me. It triggered me to get defensive.
Mm-hmm.
I just sat there with her and just breathed and just like I said, okay, what are my options? I can choose to react and walk away or go into this place of like negativity, or I can breathe and have compassion and sit in this conversation and continue to communicate from a loving place, as opposed to like like this again, this like huffing and puffing type of like energy, which I'm very good at if I want to do, because I've been conditioned to do that. And so it was such a much more harmonious conversation afterwards. And even though I was kind of like still a little triggered, I didn't let her see it. I started to calmly communicate things that I was expressing, that I was feeling. And she started to shift her energy, and we ended the night calmly with love, as opposed to just like, do we need to clear something in bed and like stay up for hours, fighting or something. It was like so much more harmonious because I made the decision to not react and be triggered.
I love that, because also what you're doing is you're doing what most people are scared to do, is you're feeling the uncomfortable feelings.
It didn't feel good. I didn't like it. I didn't want to. I just wanted to not feel it, because I was like, why am I going through this right now? But I feel like
Just sitting with it and allowing it to come up allows it to clear, to move free, right?
it did. And it allowed me to, today I'm not resentful or angry. Whereas like in the past, we might argue and then it's like a whole next day,
2 weeks later, still
yeah,
like that big.
you have to like, you're passive aggressive, you're talking about it, you're frustrated with each other, or whatever. We're not understanding each other. And just, I just can't try to come from a place of understanding and compassion. She was saying something. I don't even remember what I was specifically now, but whatever. It felt defensive to me. And I
Right.
was trying to come from a place of compassion and understanding. And if it really triggered me that much to where I felt like offended, I would have communicated and made a direct request and said, when this happens, it makes me feel this way. So my request is that we don't talk about these things that in this way. And if you have an issue with something, you bring it up in a different way, whatever it may be. But, we move through it calmly. So
What mask are you taking off when you sit there and you're with her in your body instead of running around in an egoic way? What mask are you removing from your book?
um, I'm removing a few of them. Well, there could be a few of them. The stoic mask, the aggressive mask, and the athlete mask, because the athlete mask wants to win and wants to be right
I'm
at
sure a lot of people
all costs.
listening, women and men, can relate to
Right.
that mask.
So it's like it wants to win. It's like, no, I'm right. That means you're wrong. Now I need to win, which means you need to lose. And that in relationships is toxic. And if you're always right and always need to win, that means your partner is always wrong and always loses. And so I take it off and say, okay, how can we both win? How can we both win in this moment? I take off the stoic mask, and as opposed to expressing zero emotion, I communicate. As opposed to like, okay, I'm going to bottle it up and just be strong and not react to this. It's like, no, I'm going to allow myself to communicate with love. And I take off the aggression mask, because as opposed to just like reacting right away and being aggressive, that's not going to support our relationship. That's not going to serve that moment, and it's going to hurt us and our vision of being together. So it's a combination of taking off a number of things, which is not easy to do. And
No.
it takes a lot of time and a lot of reprogramming. I've been doing it for 4 years now, and I still am
Do you
not
think that
a master at it.
meditation helps you in these type of moments?
Absolutely. I mean, meditation in the morning, when we get to, when we meditate consistently, I feel like we're so much more calm in these moments,
Yeah.
because we're grounding ourselves. During my meditation practice, I'm always like, okay, if anything comes up today, how do I want to respond? If anyone calls me and says something, someone tweets something, my girlfriend says something, my family, how am I going to respond? So I prep myself for adversity, because it's going to happen either way.
Right.
Um, or in that moment, I just kind of breathed and meditated like for a moment in myself, and was just like, okay, how do I want to respond to this? So I think meditating consistently helps in just like allowing yourself to not be so triggered and so defensive and guarded or stoic. And that's a powerful thing when done consistently.
I love this. So I talk a lot about how I believe we're evolving as a species, and a big piece of of human evolution that I think is that we're really learning to bring in our higher selves and ground it into our 3D human bodies, which I think is what you're exactly describing. So I
Yeah.
love that. Okay, I want to talk about vulnerability, the power of vulnerability. I teach a lot about what I call authentic power. And what authentic power, I learned this from Gary Zukav. I don't know if you know who that is, but it's when you align your personality with what it is that you're born to do. So aligning your personality with your soul. And in authentic power, you have to be very real, you have to be vulnerable, and you have to put yourself out there. And that's a lot about what you're talking about now, is you're talking about taking off the mask that we've been conditioned to wear and really being real and vulnerable and just allowing ourselves to be seen for who we really are. So what do you think has been the hardest thing? I don't want to say mask, but I want to say truth about yourself. What truth about yourself has been the hardest thing to really show or share in these conversations that you've been having, over the past couple of years on this topic?
Truth about myself that's been hard to open up about,
Yeah.
or
So after you remove the mask, and then you've got the truth. So you have the
yeah,
truth of yourself. Do you understand what I'm asking?
I think so. I mean, I've always been afraid to let people see me for who I am, my fears, my insecurities, and for experiences I've gone through.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want people to know what certain things had happened to me. I was sexually abused when I was a kid. My brother was in prison for 4 years. And I was just always felt like a dumb kid. I was in the special needs classes. My parents, constantly screamed and fought at each other and were divorced. And I just felt like I didn't want people to know these things because I didn't think that, because I was like embarrassed, felt shameful about, being sexually abused, felt angry, and I didn't forgive people for a long time. And I thought if people knew these things about me, if they really knew who I was, they wouldn't accept me or look at me the same way. And so the fear was just like, okay, so I need to put on these masks to pretend like I'm not these things. And when I started to share with people everything about me and about anything that's happened in the past, it felt like this weight was off my shoulders. First it was terrifying, like I didn't want to do it, and I was
Right. Right.
mortified that anyone knew this. But as I did it, I started to find that people accepted me and loved me and trusted me well beyond they ever had.
Even more. Yeah.
They were like, I didn't know these things about you, and I've been judging you, and now I know who you truly are. And people were like, I'll follow you anywhere. Anything you ever do for the rest of your life, I will follow you. I was like, what? I was like, you mean me opening up about the scariest things in my life, like makes you love me more, accept me more, trust me more,
Yeah.
want to follow, whatever they're saying. I was like, wow. Like men would come up to me talking about sexual abuse. They'd be like, you're my hero. For 30 years, I've never told anyone. My wife doesn't know. My kids don't know.
Mm.
You're finally giving me permission to share with my wife. And so I think for me, it was having the courage to open up and share certain things I was so terrified of because I didn't think it was manly. I didn't think it was the cool thing or the masculine thing to do. And I didn't think I'd be accepted. And I didn't feel like I'd fit in anymore. And I think our biggest fear is fitting in. That's why we wear a mask, in order to fit in so people accept that mask. When we, as kids, I remember being kind of bullied and picked on. I was picked last in a school dodgeball game in the fourth grade. And I remember at the end of this, I was so hurt and mad. I said, I'm never going to be picked last again for
Mm.
any sport. And I said, and so I put on the athlete mask to fit in. I said, okay, I'm going to be the biggest, fastest, strongest person I can be the most valuable athlete so that I'm always picked first, that I always win, so that people accept me, so I can fit in and be accepted. And I did that. And it worked to a point of me getting results, but it left me feeling very empty inside. And when I was done playing football, my identity was gone. This mask was no longer there. So I was like, well, who am I? And people are not going to accept me unless I'm like this athlete who's winning. So now that I can't be an athlete anymore, like, what do I do? It's like an identity crisis because no one could really see my full heart. It's the same thing when like, you know, moms tell their sons in elementary school, make sure you're kind to people, make sure you're giving, you're generous, you're sharing, you're compassionate. And then you see a couple kids being bullied by someone or someone's, and then you try to step in and say, hey, don't do that. And then those bullies take you and shove you in a locker.
Right.
And then you say, oh, wait a minute, I want to fit in. I want to have friends. So I'm going to go kind of like be the bully with these bullies so that they'll accept me. And so we start to wear this mask of aggressiveness, of whatever, to fit in. And, same thing with the sexual mask. You know, let's say, for example, a 16, 17-year-old boy is head over heels for a girl. And she laughs at him and makes fun of him when he tries to like put himself out there and say, will you go to the prom with me or on a date or whatever it is.
Right.
He tries to kiss her and she laughs and says, you're ugly. He then says to himself, there's a couple of things that could happen. One of the options is he could put on the sexual mask and say, I'm never going to feel this again. Never again will a girl make fun of me. I'm going to become so desirable, so smart, so talented, so fit, so sexy that every woman has to desire me. And I'm going to be able to sleep with all of them. Anyone I want, I'm going to be able to sleep with or hook up with, whatever. And right before, right when they fall in love with me, I'll say, I'll see you later. Because I don't want to ever feel that rejection again. I'm never going to let a girl ever hurt me again.
Wow.
So that's something that men who are like constantly chasing, maybe they went through that. There's a lot of different things that could have happened to have them wear the sexual mask. But that's one thing that's happened to men. So there's a reason why we do these things. But what's available on the other side, what's been available for me is freedom, is peace of mind, is inner peace. And it's the most terrifying thing that I've done is to open up about things. But it's been the most freeing thing for me. And it's given me a sense of, I just like the weight of the world is off my shoulders. And it feels like freedom in my heart. And it's like years of conditioning and pressure in the heart is just like a heart attack waiting to happen, or a cancer waiting to happen, or a shooting waiting to happen, or suicide waiting to happen. Whatever it is, it's like if we're not able to express our emotions and let things out in a healthy way, like what a lot of women do. You guys talk about stuff you're going through every day with girlfriends.
Right.
You're constantly on the phone. You're meeting in person in groups and sharing, here's what I'm going through. Here's the pain I'm going through. Here's my struggle. Like, why are not, I'm struggling finding a boyfriend, whatever it is. It's like you share and you are accepted for your insecurities. Where I believe the stat is 50% of men say that they don't have one guy friend they could share this with. They don't have like a good guy friend that they could just talk to and tell anything.
Openly and vulnerably. Yeah.
And it's like, well, if they feel like they don't have that, then where do they go and do that? They can't. Unless you hire a therapist or a coach or something.
Right.
It's not cool to do that. It's not acceptable. It's not
changing that.
That's my mission, because men are suffering. Men are in pain. Men are hurting inside. Mm-hmm. And men feel, and then here's the other thing. It's tricky. Yes, we're all responsible for our actions. We're all responsible to express ourselves and to know these things. But when a man, here's another example. When a man is in a relationship, and I'm not making these men a victim, it's just challenging. When a man is in a relationship with a woman and the woman says, why don't you open up more? Why don't you express yourself more and tell me what's on your mind? Like, I would love for you to, like, you never show emotion, just open up a little bit. And then he says to himself, I really don't want to, but okay, next time something happens, I'm going to say something. Like, she's giving me permission. And then the next week, something's up and he's like, God, babe, I'm just like really struggling. And I'm just like so scared right now. And I'm like, I'm not sure what we can do. And I'm freaking out. I'm just freaking out right now. And she says, well, I need you to be strong. I need you to have it put together. I need you to be the strong one so that because I'm freaking out. So if we're freaking out and I'm freaking out, what are we going to do? Like, I can't trust you then. If you can't be my rock, I don't know if I can be with you.
Not every woman. But
I'm not saying everyone, but I'm just saying, give an example.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, screw this. Like, I'm never going to show emotion again. I'm going to be her rock forever, because that one time when I tried to open up, she freaked out and threatened our relation, whatever. I'm just making an example.
No. I know what you mean. And think
it's like, it's challenging where you're like, okay, well, she wants me to be open, but then she freaks out if I am open. So I just got to put myself in an emotional box and never let it out and always be there for her the way she needs me to be there for her. So I'm not scared that she's going to leave me or she doesn't yell at me or whatever it is. It's just like So men are conflicted. It's like, all I want to do is please my girl, but she's not happy with me when I open up. So I have to wear a mask. I have to be stoic. I have to be strong. I have to be this. And it's killing men if they don't feel like they have a safe space to share. And if women make them wrong for being open and vulnerable, then women are, I wouldn't say that the cause, but they're not supporting.
It's not a conducive environment to
Yeah,
heal.
it's not helpful. It's not helpful. And you can't expect the man to be everything at all times, just like a man can't expect a woman to be, always on and look perfect and be sexy and be driven at work and do everything at home. Everything. I get it. So it
Right.
goes both ways. I'm just saying, a lot of these killings, a lot of these shootings, a lot of the racial tension, a lot of the political tension is typically caused by hurt men who
I
are
agree.
starting these things that don't have a way to express themselves. And this is their way of protecting themselves, or this is their way of finally getting their expression out to the world because they've
I
been
think
bottling
I
it up
think you
the
said it when you said the mask becomes your identity. You were talking about the athlete for yourself, and I think that that's true for everyone in the world. Is that we take on these titles, these masks, and everything, and not it just doesn't become a mask. It becomes how we identify ourselves, and I think
Absolutely.
that's the hardest part. And so I love this whole conversation that you're starting. And
Thank you. Thank you.
you. Yeah. Before we wrap up, I have one more question, and I didn't say this at the beginning. So everyone, go get this book. The link is going to be in down below. So grab that and definitely get the book and share it on social media with your friends too. And Lewis, I wanted to ask you the last question is. And this is something I don't know the answer to, so I'm curious what you're gonna. I haven't known the answer to anything, but this one's particularly. So I've been around you a lot, and you always have this outgoing, fun personality. And I've heard you a couple of times say that you don't drink, which is admirable. And no judgment on anyone that drinks or doesn't drink. But I'm curious how this fits into the mass conversation, because I also heard you say that you made a bet, I think with one of your sisters before college, that you want to have
Yeah.
a sip of alcohol.
Yeah. So the athlete mask in me, I never drank in high school because I went to a private boarding school and I never was even interested. Like I had a sip or whatever of like
Right.
at like a beer tasting something with my dad where like we went somewhere and there was like a sip and I was like, this tastes horrible.
Yeah, beer's not good on the
So
first
I
sip.
was like, I just never even had the desire. And going into, even when there was alcohol around, I was never like, oh, give me one. I just didn't care.
Right.
And so going into college, I was like, I'm excited. My siblings were like, you're just going to be this like big drunk jock who's just like a frat boy drinking all the time. And I was like, screw you guys. I was like, I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to put my athlete competitive mask on. I'm going to be right. You're going to be wrong. I'm not going to have a sip of alcohol for the 4 years I'm there. And I didn't have a sip. It was crazy. I went to so many like parties after football games where there's like a million kegs and everyone's
I
doing.
mean, that's a big feat in college to never have a sip of alcohol.
and,
Wow.
and I was like, and these women, these girls knew that I wasn't drinking. And they knew that I was like, had this bet where I was like, no, I'm not going to drink in college. And so many of them were like, we'll do a threesome with you. We'll do this. Like whatever we needed to do. Like it was like their mission to get me to drink. And I was just like, no, I'm not interested. Like I was so committed. When I'm committed to like winning, I will do whatever it takes, to like proving someone wrong. And so I think that was a mask where it was actually helped me because I didn't get into a lot of trouble wearing that mask. But afterwards, I was just like, this doesn't support my vision.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
All my athlete friends who were getting drunk were exhausted the next day during practice. And that gave me the edge. So I was like, I don't need to drink. I don't care. It doesn't taste good. It doesn't help you in any way. So why do it?
I love that. And
And
have you ever had like a drink since
I
then?
know I have had like maybe twice a year I'll have like a shot of Bailey's on ice.
Yeah.
But I've never been drunk. And it's like 3 sips of like sweet milk. It's not even
No, I know.
like,
I was just
yeah,
curious.
yeah.
This is really just my personal. I wanted to
Yeah,
know.
yeah. I've never been drunk. I've never been drunk or high. I've never smoking. I've had like a hit of weed when I was like 16, but I don't even think I got any in my system because it was like the last little bit, and I tried to like, but I couldn't even feel it. So who knows? I'm sure maybe a little trace of stuff, but contact. I've had a lot of contact weed around me, but I've never been fully high. So
Right, right. Through you're high through just the
High on life. I'm high on my
you
vision
are.
because I feel
That's
like who needs, when we need substance to feel alive, it's like, why not just create substance in your life and you'll always feel
yes,
alive.
yes. I love that.
So for me, again, it's not right or wrong, but people who always drink a lot, it seems like it catches up to them at some point. Even if they say like, well, it's just a couple glasses here and there every night, and then it's every night, and then it's like, oh wait, maybe I have a drinking problem.
Well, you're searching. So like even for me, like in my 20s, like I was a party girl. I was in clubs, like drinking and doing things
Yeah.
I shouldn't have been doing. And now, like I was searching. I was searching for the feeling that I get from my own inner connection now. And now, like I'll have a glass of wine here and there, but I don't go out like actively looking to get drunk like I did, or
Yeah,
I don't choose
exactly.
to do it very often, But yeah,
Exactly. And my drinking is like milkshakes. Like I will eat candy all day long if I could, and so it's a choice not to because I realize it's not supporting me anymore.
right.
But it's like I crave sweets like all the time. So it's like my drug of choice.
Yeah. Yeah, we all have our vices.
Exactly.
Louis, I know that you have a ton to do, and I'm just so grateful that you took the time to have this
Of course.
conversation, to share with my audience. Is there anything that you wanted to share with the listeners before we go?
Hmm. There's so much available in life when we take off our masks. And there's so much available for women when they acknowledge the men in their life for the little small good things they do, because they'll start to do more of those good things in your life. And when we focus on that as opposed to the negative all the time, and we embrace what we're grateful for, life starts to bring us more things to be grateful for. So continue to grow, continue to be grateful, and continue to give back.
Yes, 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 yes. I love it. Thank you so much. Again, everybody, go out, get this book, The Mask of Masculinity, share it with your friends, and let us know how it goes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.